but there you go. So if you see that right there is a beautiful tri-tip, just cooked beautifully. Great color on the outside. You really can't ask for more. All right, so we got our tri-tip here. I got 2 of them. I'm gonna go ahead and grill these up, but first I just want to pat them dry, like we do whenever we get ready to sear something. All right, so those have been dried off with a paper towel. And now I just want to season them. Now these are pretty thick. I want to give it plenty of salt. Now remember, if you're not sure how much salt to add to something this size, because you know, you haven't done a lot of seasoning and cooking of meat, go a little light on it, and you can always add some salt at the end of cooking before you eat it, and sprinkle on some finishing salt and go that route. But I just want to give a nice coating. I'm using kosher salt. You can use whatever salt you like and are used to using. But I just want to give those a little bit of salt. And I'm actually going to let these sit out at room temperature for about an hour, because it's going to help this cook a little more evenly when I do cook it, and it will cook quicker, which is what I want. With it being as thick as it is, I'm going to have no problem getting a good sear on this. Now, how you finish it, you could finish it in the oven, you could finish it in a smoker, or you could finish it on a cold side of a grill with the lid closed. That's how we're doing it today. But any of those methods work. But first we want to get a good sear on it, and then we're going to cook it through indirect heat and get it done to medium rare is where I want to take these tri-tips to. All right, so I've got my grill preheated, nice and hot. I went and threw the first one on already. I'm going to go ahead and toss this tri-tip next to it. This is the hot part of my grill, so I'm keeping them over on this side. And I'm going to get some really good color on both sides of these, just for the sake of simplicity. If you turn your grill all the way up to high, let it get real hot inside where you can't put your hand over it for more than a second or two. Throw your tri-tip on and just let it get good color. That's the number one priority. So let it take as long as it's going to take, but you want really good color. If you're not sure, we'll flip it over and look. If it needs longer, just put it back and let it get more color. But once we get real good color on each side, we're going to move it over to the cool side of the grill, and then we're going to cook it through until it reaches medium rare, which is about 125 degrees. All right, so let's go ahead and check how these look. These have been on for about 2 to 3 minutes. That's looking okay, I guess. Let me set that to the side. Let me check this one. Yeah, that one's looking better. I'm going to move that one down here. So I'm turning them the opposite way so they get the crisscross marks on them. And then this one had better color, and my grill is hotter up front, so I switched them so that this one will get a little bit more heat this time around. So I'm just going to let them go probably about another 2 minutes, and then we'll check it, and if I like the way they look color-wise, then I'll flip them over and do the other side. All right, so it hasn't been 2 minutes yet, but I just wanted to address this. So don't go off of just like 3 minutes on this side, 3 minutes on this, timing, because there are a lot of variables that affect how quickly you need to flip a piece of meat. So you can see right in there that this edge of this tri-tip is getting some pretty good flame. So this is going to brown much quicker than the first time when there wasn't as much flare-ups. And here too, you can see that flame coming up there. So it's going to get browner here quicker than those first 3 minutes. So I can't just set a timer and then flip it. I need to actually pay attention to what's going on. And if it looks like it's getting more flame or more intense heat, I'm gonna need to flip it earlier than if the flames aren't coming up. Now the reason the flames are coming up is because the fat is starting to render out of these and drip into the coals and create little fires. where when I first put them on, it was cold enough that the fat wasn't doing that yet. So it's very common that the further on in the process, you'll start to get more of these flare-ups. The flare-ups are okay as long as they stay low like they are here, but you'll just want to check and make sure you're not burning your meat. Now look at that. Oh man. See how beautiful that is? So that's exactly what we want. So I'm going to flip that one over, and then I'm guessing this one will be similar. Oh yeah. I'm going to flip that. Look at the color on that. Oh boy. Those are beautiful. So yeah, they're definitely getting color quicker that second time around, and it makes sense because I have fat that's dripping from the roast into the fire, and then that will cause flare-ups. It's a little grease fire. So just keep an eye on it. If you need to, move them around a little bit. So if the flames are getting too high, I could always scoot it down a little bit where the flames aren't quite as bad. You know what I mean? So then notice when I move it, there are more flare-ups. That's because it's causing more fat to drip down into the flames and create flare-ups. So just keep an eye on them. You don't want to burn it, but those flare-ups, as long as they're not too big where it's causing soot to develop on your meat, actually can help the process quite a bit. So I'm just going to put those back where they were because I actually liked the situation they were in. And then I'm just going to let them get some more color. They'll probably be a minute, 2 minutes or so on each side. So once I get some nice color this way, I'm just going to rotate them again. This one will come here. This one will swing that way. And we'll get the rest of the color on them, and then we'll be ready to move them over to the cool side of the grill and finish cooking through. All right, it's actually only been about a minute and a half, but the flames have been going pretty good, so I'm just going to go ahead and give these a check. That's not looking too bad. I'm okay with that because it'll continue getting color this time around. So like I said, I'm just rotating them 90 degrees so I can get some marks this way. And yeah, once we're done with this, we're going to color the sides because you can see, even though I have really nice color here, like that, it's gray here on the sides. So I'm going to flip them on their ends and char those up. Tri-tip is leaner than like a ribeye or some of the fattier steaks, and it's certainly not as tender as the loin steaks are, like the New York strip. But if it's sliced thinly against the grain and it's not overcooked, it eats pretty good. And the flavor is really nice. So we do not want to overcook a tri-tip. If it were like ribeye or something like that, you have a little more leeway because it's tender and it has a lot of fat in it. These don't. So that's looking okay. There you go. Look at that. That's beautiful. So this one I'm ready to start. I'm going to do this here. Looks like I'm hotter. I'm hotter over here, so I'm going to put that one over to finish. And this one I just want to get some color on the edges on the side. This one does have a little bit of color across there. This one won't take too long, but I just want to get a little more. Alright, I just want to check this one. I don't want to forget about it and let it get too much color. That's looking pretty good on the outside. Now there are some areas you can see here. You can see where this roast was not in contact with the grill, and that's just because of the shape of the roast. So right here, you can see the color is very nice. And then right here is almost no color at all. That's because it's a little bit of a dip in the meat. It's raised here and it's raised here. So those got great color and this didn't. I could have left this on a long time and it wouldn't have gotten color on there. The only solution to that is to, before I cook it, to trim it so that it's perfectly flat. But just for me at home, I don't want to waste the meat just for looks because it'll eat the same. Now I'm going to get both of them going here. And I'm just trying to get color on these edges on the outside here. So that's looking pretty good. And this side already looks good, so I'm gonna be done with that piece. All right, now if we look at this real quick, you can see how the grain is running. So tri-tips can be a little tricky. Oftentimes, people just want to start slicing and just going all the way down like that, but that's a mistake. So you can see that here, the grain is running this way. Then as I get closer to the tip, it starts to shift and it starts to go this way. So what I'm going to do when I slice it is I want to slice like this, dot, dot, and actually more like this, dot, 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 dot. And then when I get to about here, I want to start adjusting it like this, and it'll start incorporating the rest of this, and then I'll slice it the rest of the way like that. So some of these slices will be long, but that's okay. You could also cut this in half before you slice it. Like cut it like that, and then these you slice up, and then this one you slice like that. But you want to slice across the grain, but this grain doesn't run the same way throughout the entire thing, so you kind of have to adjust how you slice it when you get to certain parts of it. But let's go ahead and check this guy here. The color's looking nice, and that I think will do it. So those are looking nice. Beauties. I'm just going to check this and just see how far away we are. So that one's showing that I'm about 102 degrees. So I got about 20 more degrees to go. So yeah, once these come up to temp, then we'll be ready to rock. Now remember, this half of the grill I have on off. There's no heat under these. If you have this on low and you're leaving these in for 20 minutes or 15 minutes or whatever to come to temperature, you're going to get way more color on the bottom of those, and the bottom half of these will be cooked differently than the top half because there's still heat coming from the bottom. All the heat's coming from this side here. And then if I close this, then it will maintain about 300 degrees, just like if it were in an oven or a smoker or anything else. There is no direct heat over the meat. It's just the circulating heat. And so I'm just going to keep an eye on this. Once this comes to 125 degrees, I'm going to pull those. You could pull them sooner than that. Depends on how you like your meat done. Now keep in mind, if you like your meat at closer to rare on your tri-tip, then you want to pull it earlier. These will continue to cook at least 5 degrees after I pull them. Once I pull them, I'm going to let them rest about 15 minutes on the countertop without cutting into them. And what's going to happen is they're going to continue to rise in temperature, probably 5 to 8 degrees based on how thick these are. A thicker roast, it would continue to go 10 to 15 degrees probably, but I bet it'll be around 5 to 7 degrees. These are going to continue to go up. So if I pull them at 125, that means they are going to stop cooking at 130. And so the internal temperature at the thick part will be 130 degrees, which is where I like my meat to be, which is a little bit, it's between medium rare and medium. If you like yours less done, pull them at 120 or 121 or 22 degrees. And then they'll finish cooking at about 127, which will be more of like a true medium rare. If you like it even less, then pull it earlier. But keep in mind that as these are resting, these will continue to go up in temperature another 5 to 7 degrees. All right, so this one is very close. It's 100 and just hit 125, so I'm going to pull this off in 1 second. This one was done about 5 minutes earlier. I'm going to let these rest on my kitchen counter for 15 minutes. After 15 minutes, we'll slice them. But we do want to let them rest. We always want to let meat rest after cooking it. All right, so this has been resting for 15 minutes, and it is now ready to be sliced into. Now we want to look here and just make sure we know which direction this grain is running into. So you can see the grain here is running like this. So I don't want to start cutting like this up because that's with the grain. However, on this side, the grain is running toward it. So I can start cutting like this. But then, as I start to approach the middle, my cuts need to start to turn so that I finish with the grain across. So these slices here will be kind of long, and these slices here will be short. So let's start cutting. But there you go. So if you see that right there is a beautiful medium rare. A little over medium rare, between medium rare and medium, but medium rare-ish tri-tip. Just cooked beautifully. Great color on the outside. You really can't ask for more. Now you'll notice here on the edge, this here is much more of like a medium, even approaching medium well. And the further into the thicker part you get, you'll get more. So into here, we'll start to get more of like a true medium rare. And then as we work our way over into these edges, these will be done most of the way through. If you found this video helpful, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. And then also subscribe and turn on notifications so you'll know when I post other videos. Thanks for watching.